Hello guys, welcome to the research guide for total conflict resistance. Last time we had some trouble with black bars in the video because I was recording in widescreen mode, but now I hope this is resolved with this video. Now this is gonna cover the research tree and broadly speaking the vehicle options that you're gonna encounter in this game. And there's really one main point that I want you to take away from this, and this is that you should think about research time as a limited resource that you have. In the first few years, you wouldn't have time for to research everything, and so you have to prioritize items that actually give you additional capabilities. And we're gonna take a look here. This is a game where I have the entire Western tree, more or less, and yeah, we're just gonna open it right now and talk about how the research tree looks. Now, addressing the obvious fact, you know you're gonna have slightly different things depending on the type of faction you play. So this is like the Western research tree. There's like an Eastern one and a Rebel one. Uh, but there are some similarities in them, and there is no real variety in, let's say, the types of vehicle. So the concepts that we're gonna cover apply to every faction, regardless of the specific research tree. And so, what you really should realize when you're looking at this tree is that a lot of the things in the tree are cosmetic or redundant or side grades. And nothing exemplifies that better than the weapons segment. So, in every research tree, you're gonna have some pretty mediocre weapons, which are usually like a shotgun and a rifle path at the start of the game, and then every year you're gonna get more and more unlocks. Now, what you have to consider is that the AI really doesn't benefit that much from most of these weapons. So an AI with a FAMAS, with an M4A1, with a Mark 18, with an M416, with XMs, M16s, they really are gonna perform, just as good as they're gonna perform with any other weapon. There's no noticeable difference, and since research, as we said, is a limited resource that you have, you should really consider doing other things rather than researching all of those weapons and constantly changing your production. Generally speaking, there are certain things like the VOW for the Eastern tree, the FNVOW for the Western tree, and the SKS for the Monarchist troops that are good enough weapons to where you can mass produce them, and they're gonna serve you till the end of the game. Like the AI itself would not benefit much more from any other weapon down the line. So, for example, here in the Western tree, the FMV, perfectly good weapon till the end of the game. Now, what you have to think about is that the AI is not very accurate with their spread, with their recoil patterns, and they actually are not affected by how little or more recoil a gun has. Some guns have some intrinsic accuracy. I think the FMV is really good with long range accuracy and little drop off, which is why the AI does so well with it. But in general, the AI is not gonna feel any difference between M4s, the G36s, the AUG, the SCAR, the L86, the SA80, and so on. And so for your overall performance of your squad, it doesn't matter. Now, that being said, if you want to play with a specific weapon or set of weapons during your game, of course, you can go ahead and research something else. Um, Generally speaking, people will go for 2 or 3 weapons for the AI in a game. In this case, here I would recommend then going for Mark 14s or SCARs to equip the AI. But then you can always leave 1 or 2 slots for weapons that you want to play with on your squad editor, and then you can have the best of both worlds. Now, a similar thing is going to happen when we move on to vehicles. So now I have here all of the vehicles revealed, and what you need to think about when researching vehicles is realistically what are you going to produce. They take a lot of time to get going and get efficiency with them, and they take also a lot of time to research. And so, you have to think about it. If you have, let's say, the Striker, the M113A1, the MRAP, these are all vehicles that perform roughly the same. They really don't have that much difference. Obviously, the Striker is a bit beefier, but you have to wait a long time to get it. And so, is it really worth it to go through all of these redundant research? Now, some of you may say yes. Some of you may say, well, I want a vehicle with a grenade launcher, and the only one here is the M1117. Some may say I want like an AA gun. I don't think they're effective at this stage of the game, but if you want one, well, we have to go through these three. Maybe you wanna, this like tree when it comes up, you want to have a good mix. So this will give you a very armored machine gun vehicle, machine gun platform. You get an infantry fighting vehicle, and you also get a tank. And but what you need to think about is that you don't need to research everything. So let's say we have researched this line here, right? We have the Bradley, we have the M1, and we're happy. And now next year, the Leopard will unlock. Now some of you might think, well, I mean, it's for next year, right? It's 1 year later, so they must be better. But actually, in my opinion, the Leopard 2 is either identical or slightly worse performing than M1A1. And so this is another example of like a fluff choice that you can take. Same here, HIMARS or M270, not really any noticeable difference in performance. And later on you can get obviously improved tanks. They're not gonna be that. They're not gonna perform that different. But if you wanna see them, and it's the late game anyways, go for it. So what I want you guys to take away from this is that this is side grade, and they are there to give you some kind of fluff for your army. So don't think that there is any major upgrade except the capability that something brings. If you have an infantry fighting vehicle, well, a newer infantry fighting vehicle isn't going to be that much better. If you have a tank, well, another tank will be not that much better, right? If you already have this line, you have the best infantry fighting vehicle, you have a very good tank that you don't need to change. There is one unique kind of capability vehicle in the eastern and western trees. In this case, this is the 1117 Guardian, which is a grenade launcher APC. And this is something that is one of a kind. There's no other vehicle like that. And so also like in this case, in this tree, there's only one anti-air option, but in other trees, this is not the case. And so you might want to consider going down some lines for these specific capabilities if you need them. But in general, don't get tricked thinking that only if I research, let's say, the next year of guns or the next year of vehicles, I'm gonna perform way better on the battlefield. This is usually not the case, and this game is really about position, much more than it is about your particular equipment. Especially after the middle of the game, where you have most of the archetypes unlocked, there's really not that much of an edge that you can get. There are two exceptions to this that I want to give you. The first one is jets. In general, helicopters right now in the game perform way worse than jets perform, even though they serve absolutely the same role. And they're also expensive and take a lot of time to produce. So in general, I would recommend to you to skip helicopters if you don't have that much research time available to you. Just skip them. Don't build them in this campaign that I have here. I haven't built any. I've just researched them because I was at the end of the research tree. It's 2031 in this game. But in general, just skip the helicopters, get to your preferred air fighter. You're gonna do way better. They have noticeably larger splash damage, and in general come in the battle quicker, so it's more likely for you to hit something with them. The other notable exception here on the tree is uniforms. And uniforms is something that I recommend you rush at the beginning of the game. So go as deep on the uniforms as soon as possible, because this is gonna be your single best combat effectiveness research. Like the whole tree is maybe a year worth of research, and it's gonna increase the survivability of your soldiers a lot. So usually an unequipped soldier is gonna take like one, let's say Kar 98 shot to the chest because they don't have any armor. Light armor will do one. Medium armor will do like one armor will add one extra hit, so now it's two to kill. The medium armor will add three, and the heavy armor will be four. And so, especially early on in the game where you don't have a lot of these late game assault rifles or high caliber rifles that shoot fast, that do a lot of damage. You're gonna be facing a lot of SMGs. You're gonna be facing a lot of these kinds of old, rifles or like some slightly newer variants of them that shoot slow. And so being able to take 4 times the hits that an unarmed version of the soldier would is a huge boost. That being said, never just charge your soldiers into battle because they have a nick of getting themselves killed or even killing each other in the back with bursts. But um, still, really gonna help you to trade well, and especially in that early game phase. And finally, something that probably a lot of people are wondering are the sights and the suppressors. Now, this might not be that intuitive, but the sights and the different scopes, the suppressors, they have absolutely no effect on the battlefield. So far as I know, the suppressors make your troops slightly stealthier, but I haven't found a situation where this has reliably helped me in any way to win a battle. And the sights, pure and simple, do not change the accuracy of your soldiers one bit. I've put on different sights, and as far as I can tell, the soldiers perform about the same. So this is probably where you can misinvest the most of your research time. Another disadvantage of the suppressors is that if you're playing a lot in RTS mode, you actually wouldn't be able to hear your soldiers firing most of the time, and in that way, you actually wouldn't know where the fiercest engagements are happening. It will be harder to track your troops. Now, as with the weapons, if you want to play with like a T4, a red dot, a 4x scope, absolutely legitimate. However, this is something that you should think about as being a personal preference, on so that you enjoy playing on the battlefield like as an FPS shooter. It does not actually affect in any way the campaign, or in any major way. The other thing that you shouldn't research early on is the RPG and the RPG ammo. In general, I am in 2031, just the beginning right now in this game. I have not produced a single piece of RPG ammunition in the entire game. And if I scroll down, you can see that in the country there are 9,850 pieces still available. The game spawns you in with a large supply of RPG rockets, and every time you capture a city, you get a large supply of RPG rockets. There are certain campaigns in which you're gonna run out of them, but it is very unlikely. RPGs you might want to produce, but early on these are not things that you're gonna be concentrated. You know, you shouldn't concentrate into like your production into RPGs because you want to use your resources for construction. You want to use your iron to produce other things, maybe early vehicles, maybe weapons, maybe armor, depending on the style you want to play. And so, and you're not gonna have a lot of production facilities. This is just simply the way the game is. You need to capture a few towns, and then later on when you've captured half the map, you'll never be able to fill out all your production facilities. It's just how the balance right now works in the game. So if you ever need RPGs, you just wander to the market, scroll down, and you can buy them. They're very cheap, guys. There really is no reason to produce them most of the time. Now, even here, even late in the game, there's what, like 5 nations remaining, something like that. You can buy RPGs. You can buy 100 of them. Now, 100 of them, think about it. That's a lot. If you equip only half your squad with an RPG, that's your 20 squads equipped with RPGs right there. Costs like $8,000. You can get it sometimes for cheaper. It actually depends on the country. And so, when early on you have a lot of things to research, I would not recommend you start researching RPGs, and especially the RPG ammo, because it's just something that you can go without, and there are other things that you should prioritize, like maybe getting early APCs. If you want, you can try and get an early assault rifle out. You should definitely push for your uniforms, and these are like the priorities that you should have. Good. Your research is based on the amount of scientists you have in your republic, right? You're gonna spawn with some variation, so there's not an exact build order that anybody can do, because there's some variation in the amount of scientists you spawn. But if you really wanna increase your science, of course, you can build research centers. These give you a flat increase in scientists. Right now in this game, have a lot of research centers constructed, and so have a large amount of scientists working for me, and I can research everything really quickly. Uh, when you start capturing cities, major settlements are gonna provide you with some scientists, and generally speaking, major settlements and research centers are also gonna boost your diplomacy, right? So you can see stock beginning of the game, it's gonna actually take you between 40 and 50 days to justify a war goal. Right now we're down to 19 days, just because we have all those lovely um, extra cities and research centers. So this is now everything I wanted to cover about research. Guys, before the end of the video, I would just like to ask you to please let me know if the topics that I'm covering here are actually useful to you. And if I've missed something, just leave a comment. I'm always happy to respond. Yeah. So thank you as always for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.